Chapter 6 Managerial Decision Making. Types of decisions and problems. A decision is a choice made from available alternatives. Decision making is the process of identifying problems and opportunities and then resolving them. Decision making involves effort both before and after the actual choice. Programmed and non-programmed decision. Programmed decisions involve situations that have occurred often enough to enable decision rules to be developed and applied in the future. Once managers formulate decision rules, subordinates and others can make decisions, freeing managers for other tasks. Non-programmed decisions are made in response to situations that are unique, poorly defined, largely unstructured, and likely to have important consequences for the organization. Non-programmed decisions often involve strategic planning because uncertainty is great and decisions are complex. Facing uncertainty and ambiguity. One difference between programmed and non-programmed decisions relates to the degree of certainty or uncertainty that managers deal with in making the decision. In a perfect world, managers have all the information necessary for making decisions. In reality, some things are unknowable and some decisions will fail. Every decision situation can be organized on a scale according to the availability of information and the possibility of failure. The four positions on the scale are certainty, risk, uncertainty, and ambiguity. Certainty means that all the information the decision maker needs is fully available. Few decisions are certain in the real world. Most contain risk or uncertainty. Risk means a decision has clear-cut objectives and good information available. The future outcomes associated with each alternative are subject to failure. However, enough information is available to allow the probability of a successful outcome for each alternative to be estimated. Uncertainty means managers know which goals they wish to achieve, but information about the alternatives and future outcomes is incomplete. Factors that may affect a decision, such as price, production cost, volume, or future interest rates, are difficult to analyze and predict. Managers may have to come up with creative approaches to alternatives and use personal judgment to determine which alternative is the best. Many decisions made under uncertainty do not produce the desired results, but managers face uncertainty every day. Ambiguity means that the goals to be achieved or the problems to be solved are unclear. Alternatives are difficult to define, and information about outcomes is unavailable. Highly ambiguous circumstances can create a wicked decision problem. With conflicts over goals and decision alternatives, rapidly changing circumstances, fuzzy information, and unclear linkages among decision elements, managers have a difficult time coming to grips with the uses or the issues and must conjure up reasonable scenarios in the absence of clear information. Ambiguity is by far the most difficult decision situation. This is an illustration of the concepts that have just been discussed. The table shows a summary of the characteristics of major decision-making models. These are the classical model, administrative model, and political model. Let's discuss each one on the following slides. The ideal rational model. The classical model of decision-making is based on assumptions that managers should make logical decisions that will be in the organization's best economic interest. The four assumptions include: the decision-maker operates to accomplish goals that are known and agreed upon. The decision-maker strives for conditions of certainty, gathering complete information. Criteria for evaluating alternatives are known. The decision maker is rational and uses logic to assign values, order preferences, evaluate alternatives, and make the decision to maximize goals. The classical model is normative, defining how a decision maker should make decisions and providing guidelines for reaching an ideal outcome for the organization. The value of the classical model has been to help decision makers to be more rational. The classical model represents an ideal model of decision making that is often unattainable by real people in real organizations. It works best when applied to program decisions and to decisions characterized by uncertainty or risk because relevant information is available and probabilities can be calculated. How managers actually make decisions. The administrative model is considered to be descriptive, meaning that it describes how managers actually make decisions rather than how they should make them. There are two proposed concepts instrumental in shaping the administrative model: bounded rationality and satisficing. Bounded rationality means people have limits or boundaries on the amount of information they can process in deciding. Because managers do not have the time or cognitive ability to process complete information about complex decisions, they must satisfice. Satisficing means that decision makers choose the first solution alternative that satisfies minimal decision criteria. Rather than pursue all alternatives, managers will opt for the first solution that appears to solve the problem. The decision maker cannot justify the time and expense of obtaining complete information. According to the administrative model, decision goals often are vague, conflicting, and lack consensus among managers. Rational procedures are not always used, and when they are confined to a simplistic view of the problem that does not capture the complexity of real events. Managers' searches for alternatives are limited because of human, information, and resource constraints. Most managers settle for a satisficing rather than a maximizing solution. Intuition and quasi-rationality. Intuition is another aspect of administrative decision-making. Intuition represents a quick apprehension of a decision situation based on past experience but without conscious thought. Intuition decision-making is not arbitrary or irrational because it is based on years of practice and hands-on experience. Intuition begins with recognition. When people build a depth of experience and knowledge in a particular area, the right decision often comes quickly and effortlessly. Research on the validity of intuition in decision-making is inconclusive, suggesting that managers should take a cautious approach to it, applying intuition only under the right circumstances and in the right way. A new trend in decision-making is referred to as quasi-rationality, which basically means combining intuition and analytical thought. In many situations, neither analysis nor intuition is sufficient for making a good decision. One is not better than the other, and managers need to take a balanced approach by considering both rationality and intuition as important components of effective decision-making. The political model. This model is for non-program decisions when conditions are uncertain, information is limited, and there is disagreement about the goals to pursue or the action to take. Managers often engage in coalition building for making complex organizational decisions. A coalition is an informal alliance among managers who support a specific goal. Coalition building is the process of forming alliances among managers. The inability of managers to build coalitions often makes it difficult or impossible for them to get their decisions implemented. The political model closely resembles the real environment in which most managers and decision makers operate. The political model begins with four basic assumptions. Organizations are made up of groups with diverse interests, goals, and values. Information is ambiguous and incomplete. Managers do not have time, resources, or mental capacity to identify all dimensions of the problem and process all relevant information. Managers engage in the push and pull of debate to decide goals and discuss alternatives. Recent research has found rational, classical procedures to be associated with high performance for organizations in stable environments. Administrative and political decision-making procedures and intuition have been associated with high performance in unstable environments when decisions must be made rapidly. Here again is the summary of the major decision-making models. 6 steps in the managerial decision-making process. Recognition of decision requirement. Managers confront a decision requirement in the form of either a problem or an opportunity. A problem occurs when organizational accomplishment is less than established goals. Some aspects of performance is unsatisfactory. An opportunity exists when managers see potential accomplishments that exceed current goals. Awareness of a problem or opportunity is the first step in the decision-making sequence and requires surveillance of the internal and external environment for issues that merit executive attention. Recognizing decision requirements is difficult because it often means integrating information in novel ways. Diagnosis and analysis of causes. Diagnosis is the step in which managers analyze the underlying causal factors associated with the decision situation. Managers make a big mistake if they jump right into generating alternatives without first exploring the cause of the problem more deeply. Studies recommend that managers ask a series of questions to specify underlying causes, including: what is the state of disequilibrium affecting us? When did it occur? Where did it occur? How did it occur? To whom did it occur? What is the urgency of the problem? What is the interconnectedness of events? What result came from which activity? The 5 whys is a questioning method used to explore the root cause underlying a particular problem. The first why generally produces a superficial explanation for the problem, and each subsequent why probes deeper into the causes of the problem and potential solutions. Development of alternatives. Once the problem or opportunity has been recognized and analyzed, decision makers begin to consider taking action. The next step is to develop possible alternative solutions that will respond to the needs of the situation and correct the underlying causes. For a program decision, feasible alternatives are often available within the organization's rules and procedures. Non-program decisions require developing new courses of action that will meet the needs of the company. Selection of the desired alternative. The best alternative is one in which the solution best fits the firm's overall goals and values and achieves the desired results using the fewest resources. The manager tries to select the choice with the least amount of risk and uncertainty. Making choices also depends on managers' personality factors and willingness to accept risk and uncertainty. Risk propensity is the willingness to undertake risk with the opportunity of gaining an increased payoff. Implementation of the chosen alternative. The implementation stage involves the use of managerial, administrative, and persuasive abilities to ensure that the chosen alternative is carried out. The success of the chosen alternative depends on whether or not it is translated into action. Sometimes an alternative never becomes reality because managers lack resources or energy needed to make things happen. Communication, motivation, and leadership skills must be used to see that the decision is carried out. Evaluation and feedback. In the evaluation step, decision makers gather information or feedback to determine how well the decision was implemented and whether it achieved its goals. Feedback is important because decision making is a continuous, never-ending process. Feedback provides decision makers with information that can start a new decision cycle. By learning from decision mistakes, managers can sometimes turn problems into opportunities. Personal decision framework. Not all managers make decisions in the same way. These differences can be explained by the concept of personal decision styles. Personal decision styles refer to differences between people with respect to how they perceive problems and make decisions. Research has identified 4 major decision styles. The directive style is used by people who prefer simple, clear-cut solutions to problems. Managers with an analytical style like to consider complex solutions based on as much data as they can gather. People who tend toward a conceptual style like to consider a broad amount of information but are more socially oriented than those with an analytical style and like to talk to others about the problem and possible alternatives for solving it. The behavioral style is often adopted by managers who have a deep concern for others as individuals and involves one-on-one discussions. Why do managers make bad decisions? Even the best manager will make mistakes, but managers can increase the percentage of good decisions by understanding some of the factors that cause people to make bad ones. Most bad decisions are errors in judgment that originate in the human mind's limited capacity and in the natural biases managers display during decision making. Awareness of the following 6 biases can help managers make more enlightened choices. Being influenced by initial impressions. The mind often gives disproportionate weight to the first information it receives when considering decisions. Anchoring bias occurs when we allow initial impressions, statistics, and estimates to act as anchors to our subsequent thoughts and judgment. Justifying past decisions. People don't like to make mistakes, so they continue to support a flawed decision in an effort to justify or correct the past. One common example is when a manager continues to pour money into a failing project, hoping to turn things around. This is sometimes referred to as the sunk cost effect. Seeing what you want to see. People frequently look for information that supports their existing instinct or point of view and avoid information that contradicts it, affecting where they look for information as well as how they interpret the information they find. Confirmation bias occurs when a manager puts too much value on evidence that is consistent with a favored belief or viewpoint and discounts evidence that contradicts it. Perpetuating the status quo. Managers may base decisions on what has worked in the past and fail to explore new options, dig for additional information, or investigate new technologies. Being influenced by emotions. Managers make better decisions when, to the extent possible, they take emotions out of the decision-making process. Overconfidence. Most people overestimate their ability to predict uncertain outcomes. Before deciding, Managers have unrealistic expectations of their ability to understand their risk and make the right choice. Brainstorming. One of the best known techniques for rapidly generating creative alternatives is brainstorming. It uses a face-to-face group to spontaneously suggest a broad range of alternatives for decision making. The keys to effective brainstorming are that people can build on one another's ideas. All ideas are accepted, no matter how crazy they seem, and criticisms and evaluation are not allowed. The goal is to generate as many ideas as possible. Electronic brainstorming, called brainwriting, brings people together in an interactive group over a computer network. Recent study shows that electronic brainstorming generates about 40% more ideas than individual brainstorming alone, and 25% to 200% more than groups. Use hard evidence. Using evidence can help take emotions out of the decision-making process, preventing managers from relying on faulty assumptions or points of view. Evidence-based decision-making means a commitment to making more informed and intelligent decisions based on the best available facts and evidence. Managers should be alert to potential biases, past assumptions, or intuitions, and seek and examine the evidence with rigor, thus making a careful and thoughtful decision. Engage in rigorous debate. An important key to better decision-making under conditions of uncertainty is to encourage a rigorous debate of the issue at hand. Good managers recognize that constructive conflict based on different points of view can focus a problem, clarify ideas, and stimulate creative thinking. It can also create a broader understanding of issues and alternatives and improve broader decision quality. There are several ways to stimulate rigorous debate. One is by ensuring diversity in terms of age and gender, functional areas of expertise, hierarchical level, and experience with the business. Some groups assign a devil's advocate who has the role of challenging the assumptions and assertions made by the group. Another approach is to have a group member develop as many alternatives as they can as quickly as they can. Another approach is technique called point-counterpoint, in which two subgroups are assigned competing points of view. The two groups then develop and exchange proposals and discuss the various options until they arrive at a common set of understanding and recommendations. Avoid groupthink. Avoiding groupthink helps groups make better decisions. Groupthink refers to the tendency of people in groups to suppress contrary opinions. When people slip into groupthink, the desire for harmony outweighs concerns over decision quality. Group members emphasize maintaining unity rather than realistically challenging problems and alternatives. Some disagreement and conflict is much healthier than blind agreement. Know when to bail. In a fast-paced environment, a good manager encourages risk-taking and learning from mistakes, and also teaches people to know when to pull the plug on something that isn't working. Escalating commitment means that organizations often continue to invest time and money in a solution despite strong evidence that it is not appropriate to do so. Managers might block or distort negative information because they don't want to be responsible for a bad decision, or might not accept that their decision is wrong. Do a postmortem. To improve decision making, managers need to reflect and learn from every decision they make. A technique many companies have adopted is to encourage examination of the evidence, and continuous learning is the after-action review. A disciplined procedure whereby managers invest time to review the results of decisions on a particular basis and learn from them. After implementing the decision, managers meet to evaluate what worked, what didn't, and how to do things better. Many problems are solved by trial and error. End of chapter 6.